this problem.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. As everybody can tell tonight, we are having our meeting held virtually. Hope everybody's got a good connection. Looks like we have a number of participants out there. And we do have Cindy Grimes as our community volunteer and co-host of the meeting. If anybody has any questions or comments, please direct those to Cindy. And if participants want to record the meeting, they can press the record icon and request permission either in the general chat or direct message co-host Cindy for that particular service. At this time, we're going to move right on to the agency reports. First report up tonight is Los Angeles County Sheriff Resident Deputy Martinez. I think I saw him.
Hey guys, I'm here. Right. So for the month of September, we had 64 calls for service. We had 1 Part 1 crime, which brings our total to 4 for the year. We had 2 property crimes, which brings it to 13 incidents total for the year so far, which is a 33% decrease in Part 1 crimes and 76% decrease in property crimes from this time last year, which gives us a crime rate of negative 70% from years past from the previous year. And then I was looking through the calls for service. We did not have anything go on at Gardens of Paradise how we thought we might over the weekend of the parade. So nothing occurred there. Do you guys have anything for me?
You know, I think we might be clear, but let's see if any hands go up, and I don't see any, so I think we're looking good. And yeah, as far as I know, there wasn't anything that took place there at the Garden of Paradise, so we appreciate you keeping that on your radar, and we'll let you know if anything. Oh, it looks like Cindy. I knew if I talked long enough, we'd have at least one hand brought up there. Yes, Cindy, you've got the floor.
Thank you. Deputy Martinez, I want to let you know that I did receive a email back from a gentleman at the Public Works about the mirrors. Mm-hmm. And you were correct. They do not do anything with mirrors. They're not considered a traffic control device. And so we're kind of looking for other options. I believe
could the community come together to fund placing that? I mean, I'm pretty sure that if any community has the right equipment to install something, it's you guys for sure.
Well, I was actually, Catherine had another idea for that intersection, but I was gonna ask the council if they would be interested in donating the funds to fund a mirror over there by the school where you feel it's necessary. But that would, like I said, I'd like to bring that up to the council if they'd be willing to donate. And I did look at it. Looks like it's going to be about a $350 cost for something that would be outdoors. That would be, and that's through Granger. It's not through like Amazon or anything like that. So, but then we would need to figure out how to get it in place because Public Works won't even give us any help when it comes down to getting them up in a position. So I just wanted to bring that up. And then Catherine.
Yep, I'm here. Hi. My idea was we need more stop signs. That there should be a 3-way stop sign there. Children are going to school there. Mary just told me she was almost hit there. It's very dangerous. And I was talking to a police officer today, and he said he doesn't. We didn't put those up there ages ago. We have them on Escondido and Agua Dulce, and I don't know why they couldn't be at Davenport and Agua Dulce. And also that they would have a field day giving out tickets. They'd probably make their quota in a month. For the
we do not have quotas. Just that'd be illegal on many levels.
I know. I'm just teasing that you could hand out a lot of tickets. But something is definitely needed there. It's just too dangerous. And I don't understand why we can't have stop signs.
That's up to Public Works. They do a traffic survey.
Right.
And then whether they deem it necessary or not, that's on them. That's not on us. We could always recommend it, but that's not on
That's not something that we tell them to do or not to do.
Yes. Hi, this is Josie Gutierrez with LA County Public Works, and I will submit that request for the intersection of Davenport and Aguadulce, correct? Basically, an all-way stop sign is what the town council would like to see. So typically, what Deputy Martinez had mentioned is we would look at it and need to do a traffic study. And basically there's a certain criteria, guidelines that it has to be met. And once that study is done, then we will let the town council know what the findings are and go from there. But I'll definitely pass that along with our traffic people.
Yeah, because I also think it's very important for the children, because a lot of kids walk or ride their bikes. And if there's a three-way stop sign, that would help them too. Not just the car traffic, the vehicles.
Yeah, I will mention that to them, specifically, you know, with the proximity in school and things like that.
Exactly. All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so basically we've got a study that's going to take place. It sounds like Josie's on top of that. So she'll report back to that as to what the situation is. And then the council can take it up as far as an item to be brought up at one of our future meetings, because I'm sure we're going to have some community input on that also. Thank you, Josie. We appreciate you jumping in. Okay.
And then Dawn, I was just curious if the council has a minute, or if it needs to be placed on the next agenda, if you would be interested in donating the funds, if we can get it to where we can figure out a way to get a community member up on a pole or something that Deputy Martinez says this is where we need it. Would the council be willing to fund that mirror, please?
I think the council would consider it. My concern is it's not just the placement. It's is it going to go on private property? And if so, is the person agreed to have it placed on his property, number one? Number two, is the ongoing maintenance of whatever is decided upon going up there. So I think, number one is let's see what Public Works comes back with. My concern is we put it up and then a year later the wind's got it swinging all over the place, and now what do we do? Who's going to go down there and maintain the thing and put it back up? I'm all, you see mirrors all over the place down in Hollywood on those narrow streets. You don't see too many out here. I think it'd be a great idea, but I think the community actually would be more open to some kind of a stop sign than they would a mirror. But let's see what the study shows.
Well, Dawn, there's actually two locations. Deputy Martinez brought it up last time, that at Meadowlark Elementary, there's a location that he thought would be a great spot for another mirror. So I don't know if that's still part of his thought or not.
It is. They did a traffic survey, but like I said, they don't do that. And I guess a stop sign, because it's only during school hours, they decided that it wasn't gonna work. But anyone that takes their children to Meadowlark, which I'm sure a lot of the residents nowadays do, it's a blind corner, big time. And then as the traffic backs up, you cannot see when you're coming out of, is it Michigan? No, it's not Michigan. Is it Michigan? Michigan on Soledad, or or Sacramento, or whichever one it is. You cannot see anything coming out of there. So it's just a matter of time when you're in a sedan and there's a truck that's waiting to pick up their kids, that they pull out, and they're not going to see someone driving at 65 miles an hour, and it's going to cause a fatality. And then we'll see what happens then, but it's going to happen. I have no doubt in my mind that's going to happen. It's almost happened to me a few times. I've seen several accidents happen there that luckily that no one was seriously hurt. So, but it's a T-bone that you get blindsided on. So.
Okay. Well, it's something that I think we need community input. I don't see where there's going to be an issue, but I think, when Josie, if she can do her study and come back with some recommendations or whatever, and it may be that the mirror is the answer. I don't know, but and as far as raising the funds, I don't see a major problem there. keep in mind the town council is not a service organization, but definitely we can collect the input from the people and see what everybody agrees to. And if it's something where the person whose property the mirror would be placed on is in favor of it, that's half the battle right there. But we certainly don't want to go through the paces and find out, okay, we put it on his property and now he's complaining about it. And so therefore it ends up getting spray painted on or whatever. But I think it's a great idea personally, but I'm just one person in this community. Okay? All right, so now we have California Highway Patrol Cops Team, Officer Allen or Officer Delgado. Let's see, who do we have out there? I think it's Officer Allen, if I'm not mistaken. I think I saw.
Yes, sir, that's me, Officer Allen.
Perfect. Welcome.
Great to see you again. All right, so for the month of September, we were kind of busy out in the county. Let's start with arrests. We had 4 stolen vehicle recoveries in the county area off the freeway, 5 misdemeanor DUI arrests, a felony DUI arrest, what's a traffic crash with injury, and the driver was intoxicated, as well as 2 warrant arrests on the freeway, and all the stats are between Ward Road and Soledad Canyon. We had 1 felony arrest, 3 warrant arrests, and 5 misdemeanor arrests for DUI and reckless driving. Additionally, one of those reckless driver arrests were from a assistant complaint from Green Valley, but we ended up finding the vehicle that they caught driving recklessly on dash cam on the 14 freeway. One of the officers recognized it, and we were able to arrest that driver based off the observations of the officer that day, but also was able to charge him with the reckless driving that the Green Valley residents reported and had dash cam up. So we were able to take his car for 30 days. He was in custody, and turned out he was in possession of an illegal firearm as well.
Wow.
Also, we had citations for the general area from the freeway and county area. It was 310 total. That was a breakdown of 77 citations issued in the county and 233 citations issued on the freeway. The breakdown for the county area was 56 tickets were written on Hero Highway alone, and there was 21 tickets on adjacent county roads, which are not part of the line beat that we keep. As you can see on the paperwork, the other line beats we keep came up with 0. The traffic crashes for the area were 16 in total. We had on unincorporated 2 property damage, 3 injury, and 1 hit and run felony. Sierra Highway had the 1 property damage, 5 injury, and they had the 1 fatal crash. Was a motorcycle, a solo motorcycle, I believe. That was the day of the parade.
Wow.
Bouquet Canyon, 3 injury crashes, and on Agua Dulce Canyon, from where it starts at Soledad and ends at when it ends at Sierra, had 0 crashes of any kind during the month of September. And that's all I have. If anyone has questions.
Fantastic. Anybody have any questions for Officer Allen? If not, thank you very much for your report. That's great.
All right, thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Los Angeles County Fire Department Community Service Representative Maria Drykamp.
Hello. Hope everybody is doing well.
Yes.
For September, we had a total of 47 responses, not 400. 47 responses, 35 of those were medical calls. We had 2 fires. And as I'm reading this to you, I realize, Mary, I apologize. I don't think I emailed this to you. Did I email this to you? No, I forgot. I'm so sorry. On September 20th, we had a 5 foot by 5 foot spot on the side of the freeway. It was a vehicle fire that spread to that brush. And then we had another vehicle fire on the 14 south of Escondido on the 24th. The only other noteworthy incident that we had in September was on the 16th. We had an animal rescue. Which was a 30-year-old horse that was trapped between 2 large boulders in the area of Escondido Canyon and Agua Dulce Canyon Road. So apparently the horse was walking a very narrow path and lost its footing and ended up on its side and wedged between two boulders. The horse owners were there, a vet came out, the firefighters came out. Between all of them, the vet sedated the horse and gave the horse some pain meds. Between all of them, they were able to manually pull that horse to safety, so they did get the horse unwedged. And then the firefighters helped in, they walked the horse back to the owner's residence, which was about a mile or a mile and a half away. So they walked the horse back. When the firefighters left, the horse was there, at home and fine, but looked to be in some pain. So long term, we don't know what the outcome was for that horse. We don't know how much damage it was estimated that the horse was down for 3 to 4 hours, wedged in between those boulders. So I don't know long term what happened with that horse, but the horse was at home when we left. That is all that I have for you, except we do have our CERT class starting on Tuesday, and I'm very excited about that. So far, we have 26 people who have signed up. I am so very much hoping that all 26 of those show up. I am going to send out reminder emails tomorrow to all of them, and we still have a room if people want to sign up still. We can still take more sign up. So Mary, if you want to throw it up on social media one last time, just a last minute push, see if we can get more people interested in taking the class, that would be great. But so far I'm happy with the signups that we have, especially if all of them show up. So that would be awesome.
Great.
Awesome. I will go ahead and do that. I will post it on our local social media.
Thank you. That would be great.
Sure.
And I'll throw it up on our page as well tomorrow.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Maria while she's here? Looks like we're pretty much clear. Well, thank you for the report, Maria, and I appreciate you attending our meeting tonight. We look forward to that CERT class.
I'm looking forward to it too.
Sounds good. All right, next up, we have Department of Public Works. We've already heard from her once, but let's hear from Josie if she wants to unmute her microphone. Hello.
Hey, me again. Okay, I have a few, updates. For road projects, the Agua Dulce Canyon Road Phase 4 project, which is from just south of the freeway to Soledad, that paving work has been completed. We're just now working on the striping, and we expect to have that finished shortly. And then there's the Sierra Highway paving project. This is mostly in Acton, but obviously because it's a neighboring community, we might have residents that travel there from about 1,200 feet west of Crown Valley Road to Mountain Springs Road. That work is currently under construction, and it's scheduled to be completed by November 8th. Right now, they've already completed the cold milling. They're working on adjusting the edge of gutter, flow line, elevations, and then they'll be working on the overlay. So, like I said, we're targeting to get that completed November 8th. And then our contractor was able to free up some room on their schedule, so we're able to schedule the Sierra Highway Phase 4 project. That's the one, Chris, you had asked about a year ago or so now. That's about, just south of Center Street to Agua Dulce Canyon Road. We're hoping to start the construction, cold mill and paving October 28th. And it'll take about a month to complete, but obviously that all depends on weather conditions.
Perfect.
And then just general announcements, the household hazardous waste, that's in the Antelope Valley Environmental Collection Center in Palmdale. It's the first and third Saturday of each month. So the next one is obviously October 19th. from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then we also have free tire collection events in our road yards. The closest one for Agua Dulce would be the one at 38126 North Sierra Highway in Palmdale. They're open from 9 to 2, but we encourage, if you're planning to drop off some tires, to try to come in early because sometimes the bins get full. You're able to bring up to 10 tires. Last one is just a friendly reminder. There's a flood risk community webinar for the 24-25 storm season for the Acton Agua Dulce area. That's on October 24th at 6:30 p.m. to 7:30. Basically, it's just to go over general flood risk information. This particular webinar will be slightly tailored for Acton Agua Dulce area, and it'll include some general requirements for building in floodplains.
Right.
That's all I have, unless somebody have any questions for me.
Anybody have any questions for Josie? It doesn't look like it, so you're clear. Thank you very much for the report.
Thank you.
Appreciate and look forward to working with you in the future. All right. So that moves us on to the 5th district report. Stephanie English. Stephanie?
I am here. How is everybody?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing well, thanks. I'm here tonight with my colleague Isabel Aurelian, who is going to be joining you guys for your meeting moving forward. And I've been given some other meetings that I need to attend and other responsibilities, so I'm going to ask Isabel to attend your meeting. You're in good hands. I'm not leaving you. I'll still be, she works in the Santa Clarita office with me. So we're attached at the hip, and of course I'm always available by cell and email, as you know. But I have asked her to join us tonight to say hello for those who haven't met her and to give the report.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Isabel.
Good evening, everyone. Happy to see you all again. I've been on once or twice, so hopefully I'm familiar to all of you. I don't have too much to report today. I have a couple things. Yesterday there was a regular board meeting. So one of the big things that I wanted to share is that the board unanimously voted to approve their annual budget. They approved their supplemental budget for fiscal year 24-25. The final budget was presented to the board by CEO Fezia Davenport. The adoption of this supplemental budget is basically the final phase of the annual budgeting process for the county. It's pretty extensive, but I'll share some highlights with you guys. The budget includes over 117,000 budgeted positions, including 515 new positions. That includes 204 new positions for the Department of Social Services, 120 positions for Department of Health Services, 61 positions for Parks and Rec. This budget also includes a total of almost 841 million in Measure H funding. The budget has about a 3.5 billion increase compared to last year's budget. It's of course, a huge budget. It's very extensive. If you guys have questions, I'd be happy to answer. And then the other thing I wanted to share was that yesterday the board unanimously approved a motion by Supervisor Barger to understand the national crisis of managing pet overpopulation and to find innovative solutions to enhance placement into forever homes for animals. Just like the rest of the nation's animal care centers, LA County animal care centers are also battling the challenges of overpopulation and finding permanent placements for animals. While overpopulation it's due to many different things. It mostly derives from higher veterinary care costs over the last few years, difficulty in accessing spay and neuter services for pet owners, and shortages of vets and veterinary technicians, specifically in California. I'm sure other states struggle with that, but California does as well. So this motion, it directs Department of Animal Care and Control to do a few different things, but some of the important ones are it directs them to report back to the board in writing in 90 days with effective strategies employed by animal care centers across the nation that alleviate overcrowding, which could potentially also be implemented in LA animal care centers, LA County animal care centers as well. The motion also directs Department of Animal Care and Control to report back with an analysis of contract cities' participation in programs and enforcement efforts offered through the department, which may help alleviate overcrowding. I'll quickly touch on it. In LA County, we have a lot of cities that contract with the Department of Animal Care and Control for services, and we have, out of 45 contract cities that the department serves, only 27 have adopted mandatory spay and neuter ordinances. So that's over half, but still not all. And lastly, the motion directs the department in collaboration with the Department of the CEO, the Department of Human Resources, to report back to the board in writing in 90 days with a plan to develop a hiring and training strategy for vets and veterinary technicians, animal care and control officers, and animal care attendants. This one's also pretty extensive. Supervisor, I'm sure you guys know, the supervisor, really focuses on animal care issues. It's a big thing for her. So again, I'd be happy to answer any questions about that as well. That's it for me.
All right, great. Thank you, Isabel. Anybody have any questions for Isabel or for the 5th District?
I have a question.
Yeah.
My biggest concern is the overpopulation obviously is because of spay and neuter. It is so expensive to get your animals spayed or neutered, and that really has to be addressed. There was something in Nextdoor the other day. They wanted to get their cat neutered, and their quote was $1,200. And it's outrageous, and nobody's really doing anything. There are a few places, but you have to wait forever. And cats and dogs are being dumped everywhere. It's horrible what's going on. But that spay and neuter really has to be addressed, and there have to be more organizations, I guess, that the only one I know, Lucy, and I call them, and they don't even know when they're scheduled again.
Wow.
Yeah, Catherine, that's a great point. We do have low cost or no cost spay and neuter services. So if you have a resident or a friend or somebody you know in the county that needs that help, send that over to us and we'll definitely help. Supervisor Barger allocated $100,000 recently to North County, primarily Palmdale, which, you guys would kind of fall into that because you don't have a shelter right in your area. But she allocated $100,000 to focus on North County recently. So I think most of those services have been allocated. Most of that money's been allocated. But anybody listening, if you have somebody that wants to get their dog spay or neutered and you run into that problem, please call us. We will help you.
I will, because people are calling me constantly. Where do I go? And I just got a kitten that someone dumped, and the kitten ran to me, and I knew I couldn't take him to a shelter because they put him down. He was like 5 weeks old, and I want to get him neutered.
Yeah, they won't put the kitten down. The problem with the overpopulation is they don't take cats or kittens unless they're sick, because I know it's hard to say out loud, but they do have a way of surviving on their own. So, I mean, I hate to say that out loud because it just sounds bad, but it is reality. And that's why the supervisor is focusing on the national problems. As Isabel mentioned, 27, 28 of there's 88 cities in the county, but we contract with 45 cities in the county. 27, 28 of those cities have no ordinance in their city enforcing spay and neuter, which means that the department technically cannot enforce the spay and neuter. Like, let's say they pick up my dog in my city doesn't have a spay and neuter ordinance. When I go to recover my dog from the animal care center, they can't force me to spay and neuter my dog. Now they do put pressure, but they only charge me a very tiny fine for my dog not being spay or neutered. So we are putting pressure on our contract cities to start stepping up, because the county takes all the criticism from the public about what's going on. And here are all our contract cities not supporting our efforts. So it's kudos to the supervisor for focusing on this effort.
Oh, yes, because it really needs to be done. And like I said, I'm getting calls all the time. And yes, barn cats, for instance, they can make it on their own. And the person who actually asked me today, he has a male and female barn cat, but he wants to get them neutered because he doesn't want a bunch of kittens running around. And find homes for.
Yeah. So someone just put in the chat the Simi Valley Spay and Neuter. We do use them, but again, we can talk offline more, Catherine. But
okay.
But please refer anyone to us who needs services, and we will make it happen. And just lastly, Isabel will be catching up, Chris, with RTG. She's roughly familiar with the water company issues. So she'll have some catching up to do, but I'll be in constant communication with her about those things, and still be in the loop. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just going to offer a couple of comments, having been through this process within the last year. And this is feedback to take back to animal control. If you try and call Palmdale Animal Care or Castaic Animal Care, there's no live person that ever answers the phone there, and you get stuck in this ridiculous press 1 to end up back where you started phone answering system. I think one of the first things that you really need to convey to animal control is they've got people sitting behind the desk there and they're not answering the phone. That's not helpful to anyone in the community.
No.
And secondly, they do organize vaccine days where you can take your animal, be vaccinated, dewormed, etc. Those are very helpful, but there is zero visibility on when those are going to be organized. So essentially what you have to do is check back every day on the scheduling system that they use. And then miraculously something will pop up saying that, in 2 weeks, there's a vaccination day, and pick an appointment between 9 and 2. I think that there would be a huge benefit because, people are busy and trying to schedule the pet care into their own schedules.
Right.
The animal care and control would actually, we do it as a council, second Wednesday of every month, there's going to be a council meeting except in August, to give some visibility to people who want to take use of those services, just to give them the opportunity to plan their calendar and say, well, I want to take my cats to be vaccinated for rabies for the next 3 years, which is what I'm doing on Friday this week. But I would say that there could be some user-friendly improvements to the way that animal care faces out towards the community.
Yeah, let me make Dawn, I don't want to take too much of your time, but let me make a couple comments on that, Chris. I will definitely talk to the department about publicizing that early and more. That's good feedback. I manage the Department of Animal Care and Control for the supervisors, so I'm engaging with them a lot. I'm pretty tough on them. However, in this case, I'm going to share a little defense. They are, like most departments, understaffed and they need funding. During COVID, they had some positions taken away. No one got laid off, no one lost their jobs, but open positions in many departments got permanently removed. So actually what's happening is the staff are all overworked and doing lots of jobs. The way listen, let me tell you something. As I said, I'm pretty tough on them. So when I hear of customer service issues, because you guys know me, I solve problems. I believe in supporting our constituents and solving problems. So when I hear something specific that's valid, the director of the department will tell you herself, we have a lot of hard conversations. But at the rank and file staff level, they really are pushed. They're not just twiddling their thumbs behind a desk, and they're under a lot of pressure. So that's no excuse for bad customer service, We still have to put our best foot forward and help the public. But they are all doing several jobs and trying to manage with a lack of staffing. So I would just ask for your patience in that regard. We have complaints sometimes about opening on Sundays. They're closed on Sundays. They still open to the adoption partners on Sundays, because if an adoption partner or a foster wants to come get a pet, they can remove them. But they've done the research and they know that Sundays, or I think it's Sundays, maybe it's Mondays, is their lowest attended day. And due to staffing, they just can't staff 7 days a week. So the department has a lot of challenges, like most county departments, that they have to really manage and mitigate. But I appreciate the feedback, and in terms of the advertising and announcing to people in advance when those opportunities are, I'll definitely make sure they do better at that. I appreciate the feedback.
Great. Thank you. All right. Look forward to working with you on that.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Isabel. All right. So next up, we have 34th Assembly District Assembly Member Tom Lackey, and Carla Bassell is the point man there. Carla, are you with us? I didn't see him earlier. I don't think he's here. Carla?
Hey, Don, just FYI, we passed over Jim Wall, our librarian.
Huh?
We can't do that.
How did that
happen?
Oh, I had him. Oh, we got too many A's and B's. Okay. Wow. I apologize. Yeah. I circled it as if we had already talked to him, but we haven't heard from him. So let's hear from the Acton Ogwood Olsey Library, Librarian Jim Wall. Jim?
Oh, hello. How are you guys doing? I knew you'd get to me.
I'm sorry for putting you way down on the list here.
No problem at all. I'm still here.
Good.
Short list for me this month. First thing I want to make sure everyone knows, October 14th, library will be closed for Indigenous Peoples Day. So don't show up for that. Next thing I'm going to mention out, we have just started up the In-N-Out Burger reading program. So if you have any kids and they happen to like burgers, you might want to come sign them up. They can get up to 3 free cheeseburgers or burgers at In-N-Out. And who doesn't like In-N-Out? I can't find anyone like that. And then the last thing I'm just going to mention, I'm firming up everything right now on it, but in November, we are going to be having a vaccine clinic here with Public Health. They're going to be coming out. They're going to have flu shots and the updated COVID shots. All first come, first serve. You'll be able to make appointments through the My Turn website for the COVID shots if you want to. But that's coming up in November.
Okay, great.
But other than that, unless you guys got questions for me, that's all I've got.
Well, let's see. Who's got a question for Jim? Looks like we're clear. All right, thank you very much for the report, Jim. I appreciate it. Sorry for the delay.
No problem.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Mary. All right, so that brings us to, I don't see Carlo, so we're going to pass him right up. And that brings us to the California 21st Senate District. Senator Scott Wilk. Is Thomas Moreno here? Thomas? I don't see anything lighting up. So we're going to go on to Mike Garcia, the U.S. 27th Congressional District. Mike Garcia, Jackie Owens? Boy, they must all be out campaigning, is all I can figure. All right. If they show up, let me know, and we'll come back to them. All right, so we have number 13, Santa Clara River Watershed Area Steering Committee, Measure W Watershed Coordinator, Amanda Begley. Amanda's here. Yes, she is. There she is. She's unmuted. She's ready to go. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Great to see you all. Amanda Begley, Watershed Coordinator for the Santa Clara River Watershed, which is part of LA County's Measure W. the Safe Clean Water Program. You may remember it was a while ago, it was over a year ago, where we talked about this opportunity through the Department of Water Resources, had a grant opportunity called the Urban Multi-Benefit Drought Relief Funding, for the acronym. We love our acronyms. And we were able to secure funds to reimburse the residents of Acton and Ogwood Dulce for hauled water costs that were incurred between October of last year through September of this year. So in your agenda, you can see that there is a link to a Google form that is the application for this program. We estimate that about 85 residents could receive an average of about $2,400 reimbursement for hauled water. So we are hoping people take advantage of this program. We will, the application is going to base how we release this money based on how long people's wells have been dry. So that's going to get the priority, the folks who've had the longer amounts of dry or poorly producing wells. So there's also the impact or the possibility, if there's leftover funds, if we don't get enough people that want to be reimbursed for hauled water, there's also the ability for people to get an extra water storage tank through this. But first, we're going to prioritize getting people reimbursed for money they may have already spent on hauled water. So the application will be open, let's see, I think it closes just at the end of the year. So there's some time. My email is in the agenda, so feel free to reach out to me, or you can ask me questions now, but if you have questions later, if you share this with neighbors or friends and they have questions, send them my way, and I'll be happy to answer them.
Great, fantastic.
Yeah.
That sounds great. As far as the reimbursement program, that'll be wonderful. We'll definitely pass that along.
And a big thanks to Amanda for doing the paperwork to get this grant going. I know we had talked about the potential of what we could do here, and we've got a lot of people out here using hauled water, so we need to get the word out so that these applications get started. And it's good to know, Amanda, that when I put it out on social media, I will also include your email so that they have got your direct email for questions, because I know there's going to be some questions on it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if anyone has any questions as they're going through the application or anything like that, feel free to reach out.
Perfect.
Great.
Yay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right, anybody have any questions for Amanda? All right, I'm sure they will have in the future, but we'll direct those directly to you. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, next up, we do have the presentations and discussions. Believe we do have someone here regarding the commercial cannabis discussion on the draft commercial cannabis zoning ordinance and proposed business operating requirements. Whoever is here from the agency, you're up.
Hi, Don. How's it going?
Good. How about you?
Good. Thank you for having us. So I'll go ahead and show host disabled attendees. Is it possible to share my screen? It looks like it's host disabled attendee screen sharing.
All right. So let's get Mary's attention here. She's the...
Give it a try now. It should be working.
Okay, perfect. Yes, that looks good.
And here we go.
Okay, you can all see it. Great. Alrighty, so hi everyone. My name is Fernando Nieto, and I'm here with the LA County Office of Cannabis Management to talk a little bit about the proposed cannabis business permit program that is being proposed for the County of Los Angeles. So just go ahead and let everybody just kind of focus on the screen and jump off camera for a second. So I have a quick presentation And a quick agenda. So I wanted to share, this is like a condensed version of the presentation that we've been doing a lot of this past summer and into the fall. So I want to give a brief background on this program. And I want to quickly go over some key components of the proposed cannabis business license program. But then I would like to show everyone where they can find really this full presentation, a full webinar, and additional resources to inform their public comment, because that's the main reason we're here today, is to solicit public comment and feedback on this proposed program. And then I'll go a little bit over some enforcement against illegal businesses, and then we'll open it up for any questions and comments at the end. So first, a little bit about the Office of Cannabis Management. It's been around since about 2017, and really its purpose has been to lead the transition of cannabis to a regulated market for the unincorporated areas of Los Angeles County. And so some of the proposed objectives, or rather the objectives of this proposed program, are to ensure the health and safety of cannabis consumers, to promote well-being of communities, and to support a regulated local industry. So this program has really been in development for a pretty long time. Shortly after the state approved a adult use market back in 2016. So the office was formed in 2017. By June 2018, the Office of Cannabis Management proposed a framework of how commercial cannabis could be regulated in the unincorporated areas. And then not much happened. The program was not implemented until the board directed OCM to really revisit these recommendations, look at some of the best practices in other jurisdictions from regulating cannabis, and propose an updated framework, which OCM did in February 2022, and that was approved unanimously by the board. One of the other big things that happened since then was a Measure C, which was approved by LA County voters by about 60%. And it established a general business tax on commercial cannabis businesses in the unincorporated areas. But just to be clear, those businesses are still currently illegal. All commercial cannabis businesses in unincorporated areas are currently illegal. And what we've been doing since then, and really since the July 2024, has been doing a lot of community engagement to share this proposed program, this proposed framework, and try to answer any questions and comments around this. So very quickly, a brief overview of what the board approved back in February 2022. Was a total of 90 permits across 6 different business activities, which included 25 retail storefronts, 25 delivery-only businesses, and then 10 cultivation, 10 manufacturing, 10 distribution, and 10 testing businesses. They also established a 600-foot buffer around these businesses from any sensitive use, and said that these businesses could be allowed, or rather the retail and delivery businesses could be allowed in commercial and manufacturing zones. So I'm gonna do a really quick overview, not really go into the details, but think of this more as kind of like a sneak preview of the information that you can find on our website, or if you join us for a meeting that we'll be hosting on October 23rd, which I'll share a little bit further into this presentation. But really, some of the key components of the commercial cannabis business program and how it will be regulated are some consumer health and safety measures that include certain prohibitions around advertising, the visibility of cannabis from outside of the store, as well as the concentration of businesses, and saying that and this program would only allow 5 retail and 5 delivery businesses per supervisorial district under this initial approved framework. It'll also have, in addition to those consumer health and safety measures, there are also odor and waste management regulations, track and trace system, which is a statewide program to really track cannabis from seed to sale, recall procedures, and as well as packaging and labeling requirements that are really there to ensure that children that products aren't attractive to children, and they're also not easily accessible to children, and they're tamper evident and child resistant in terms of the packaging and the labeling. There are numerous security measures, including limited access areas, age verification procedures when somebody enters a retail establishment, as well as when they purchase cannabis. So it's kind of like a dual age verification requirement, 24/7 video surveillance, various locks and alarm systems to ensure certain areas are secure, at least one security guard during regular operating hours, security lighting, and signage to ensure that there is no loitering on the premises, and ensuring that everyone knows that nobody under 21 years of age would be allowed unless they're a qualified patient. Some of the additional components is a good neighbor policy, which would require a community meeting once annually and notification to residents and neighbors within about a 500-foot radius, as well as a community liaison that's available 24/7 to address any community complaints. Businesses would be required to adhere to corporate social responsibility related to community, which could include like volunteering or donations to local community organizations, commitments related to social equity, as well as corporate social responsibility commitments related to labor and employee relations. Businesses would also be required to adhere to local and targeted worker hiring mandate, which would require 25% of all work hours be performed by local workers and 20% of all work hours be performed by targeted workers, which is, you could kind of think of as individuals with some barriers to entry. So somebody who was maybe previously incarcerated, somebody who's unhoused, or somebody who just hasn't been employed for a significant amount of time or has some form of disability. You could think of those as targeted workers. Also a quick overview of the proposed zoning regulations. So this program will be proposed and amend 2 existing ordinances, and one of those ordinances would be Title 22, or the county zoning ordinance, that really determines where businesses would be allowed to locate. So I noticed on your agenda that you included several links, which I think is great. And one of those links is to a map that we recently published, and it shows all the eligible areas where these businesses would be allowed. And I'll share my screen for a quick moment and kind of share that map so everybody has a chance to take a look. But essentially what the zoning regulations say is that commercial cannabis businesses would be permitted only in commercial and industrial zones, and to a far lesser extent in institutional zones, which there's not too many of throughout the unincorporated areas of the county. One of the key provisions in the zoning or proposed and draft zoning ordinance is the buffers between youth-oriented uses. So no cannabis business could be permitted within any existing residential use or site, or 600 feet of a youth-oriented use, which includes schools from K through 12, daycares, parks, recreational facilities, and libraries. There's also an additional buffer requirement for 500 feet between any new business under this proposed program and an existing licensed retail storefront. This would include whether they're in an unincorporated area of the county or an incorporated city like the city of Los Angeles. And now, this is a quick overview of an estimated timeline, which is likely to change. But as I mentioned, since the summer, we've been doing a lot of community engagement, soliciting feedback, and trying to answer any questions around this program. And then this program would amend 2 ordinances. We anticipate Title 8 potentially being amended in the fall, but that could that's looking like it might change, and it might move concurrently with the zoning ordinance amendments. But one really significant part of this project is conducting a program environmental impact report to assess any of the potential environmental impacts, or see if there would be any significant environmental impacts, and analyze and disclose what those impacts may be that would come from this proposed program. So all this to kind of say that by around summer 2025, we anticipate everything kind of going in front of the board for their approval. That it would include the EIR, the Title 22 zoning ordinance, as well as potentially the Title VIII kind of administrative ordinance, which really governs how the program is administered. So yeah, the main reason we're here is because on October 1st, we launched our official public comment period. So you could learn much more about this program, about the proposed program, if you visit our website, cannabis.lacounty.gov. I'm just going to go briefly kind of show this website. You can still see my screen, right? Okay, perfect. So this is our homepage. If you click on this public comment period now, open banner, it'll take you to this page, which really should give everyone kind of all the information that they need to give us a really informed, really great and specific public comment on this program. So we have information on how to submit your comment, and there's multiple ways to submit that, whether it's an online form, which will take you to kind of like a survey, and you could just kind of fill this out and send it, and we'll receive it right away. You could send us an email to cannabis@lacounty.gov. Subject line, public comment. We could send it via written or a letter to us at 320 West Temple Street in downtown Los Angeles. As I mentioned too, we'll be hosting a public meeting. So we're kind of accepting comments during this public meeting as well. That is scheduled for October 23rd. We have a link on our website where you could just go ahead and register and RSVP to that event. Although it's not absolutely necessary, it's good to have that calendar reminder on your to remind you to attend. So real quick, the information on that meeting. So it'll be online virtual meeting, and we'll talk more in depth of the stuff I mentioned here today, like the operating requirements of these businesses, a little bit more in depth on the background, a little bit more in depth on the what a business actually would have to do in order to obtain a license with the County of Los Angeles to operate. So that meeting will be Wednesday, October 23rd in the evening from about 6 to 7:30. Yeah, so I welcome everyone to join us, and just kind of share this throughout your network. The last few things I want to share, we do have a guide for anybody interested in just really refining their comments and that wants to submit it. But right here, I think, is probably the most important part, and all the additional resources. So we have the draft zoning ordinance available here that shows all the specifics on where businesses would be allowed. And I'll actually just jump around slightly. The commercial cannabis eligible areas map is, I think, will be a great resource for everyone to really display and show where these businesses would be allowed throughout the unincorporated areas of the county. So if you click on that, it'll take you to this page, gives you a brief overview of how to navigate this. But essentially, you have all these various layers of different business types, the buffer zones, and the unshaded areas are where the unincorporated areas of the county are. So I welcome everybody to just kind of play around with this map and see where businesses might be allowed in the unincorporated areas. But definitely a great resource to inform any comments and any feedback that they'd like to share. The last few things here is our operating requirements for these businesses, the framework of operating requirements, a fact sheet that really just kind of summarizes all this information onto like a concise 2-page sheet. And if you're not available to join us on October 23rd, we did host a very similar meeting back in at the end of July. So we have that recording available on our webpage as well. So yeah, I encourage everybody to take a look at our website. Once again, that's cannabis.lacounty.gov. There's a big banner at the top that'll take you to that page, so you won't miss it. Our deadline to submit the public comment will be for November 15th, 2024. And now, before I finish up here, I do want to share one last thing, and that is how to report any illegal business. So I mentioned a couple times, this is a proposed program. Currently, businesses, commercial cannabis businesses are not allowed. It's prohibited in all the unincorporated areas. So if you do see an illegal business, then we encourage you to report it. And there's numerous ways to do that. So the one way could be through the Works app. You can find it in your app store. Among other county services, there's an option to report unlicensed cannabis businesses. But if you don't want to download that, you can also just send us an email at cannabis@lacounty.gov, or also the LA County Sheriff also has an email to that anybody could report a business to, and that is marijuanatips@lasd.org. And then the last thing I do want to say around enforcement is that one of the things that we absolutely recognize as in the development of this program and the potential implementation of it is that in order to really support a legal and a regulated market and businesses that pay their fees, pay their licensing fees, follow all the rules, and pay their taxes, then there has to be a significant dent and reduction made in the illegal market. So that's another one of OCM's roles, and another one of OCM's objectives is to work with the enforcement agencies that do are tasked with closing illegal cannabis businesses, work closely with them, coordinate with them, and ensure that they have the resources that they need in order to effectively manage and reduce the illegal and illicit market. So yeah, that's my final note on that. So now I welcome any questions, any comments on anything we just shared.
Great. Thank you, Fernando. Does anybody have any questions for Fernando while he's here? Like, want to raise your hand? We're looking pretty good. I think it was.
Don, I've got a couple questions.
Okay, Mary.
Fernando, could you do me a favor and go to the map that you've got?
Yes.
And put in cultivation. Because I think that's what we're most interested in out here, is where the cultivation may go or may be permitted to go.
Yeah, so one of the things I'll also advise, because definitely welcome everybody to use this in their own time, but you want to make sure you turn on the buffers, right? Because that'll definitely inform like where these things can go. One of the big areas where they can't go is significant ecological areas. That's just a part of this, but these are all the business types, and I'll turn on the cultivation layer. And if there's a specific area you'd want me to zoom in on there, or you could type in an address here also. So I could probably try Agua Dulce, and that should come out. And then there's also, if you want to see a little bit more detail, you could see like an aerial map here, and that'll, give you a better sense of where we're at.
Okay, so all of the blue is potential cultivation?
No, so the blue, and glad we're talking about this. I zoomed out a little bit. The blue are significant ecological areas. So, okay. And there is a little legend over here. So the blue are areas where it would not be allowed. Okay. No cannabis use would be allowed in these significant ecological areas. The green areas are where cannabis cultivation would be allowed.
Okay, so in Agua Dulce,
I think I zoomed out of it. Let's go back there.
Yeah,
there we go.
Zoom in a little bit. Am I correct that it's only manufacturing and industrial? For cultivation?
Oh, you're saying manufacturing businesses in industrial zones? That would be correct.
Okay, So cultivation is only allowed in M1.
Yes. So in my, I don't have that slide in this presentation, but there's a nice, like, neat table that shows where each business type is allowed in terms of each zone, and just kind of summarizes it. But manufacturing and cultivation would only be allowed in manufacturing zones or industrial zones, if you want.
And just FYI for everybody, the only manufacturing and industrial areas in Agua Dulce, we've got some off of Sierra Highway, kind of at the north, that little green spot up at the north area. That is the SOS property, I believe. Don, is that correct?
That's correct, yep. And then it looks like Davenport Road.
Right, that's the other.
Davenport Road and Adobe.
Yeah.
Right there. Okay, so
Down here where that green one is. Yes.
That's where all the storage yards are. As far as in the main part of Agua Dulce, it's where you've got the two storage facilities, and then White Arrow and Petrelli Electric and Canyon Equipment Exchange. That's all right there between Trail Road and Adobe Road, I think is what that M1 is.
So one more thing I want to point out, though, and just keep in mind, I give a very condensed, like, quick presentation, is that one of the other requirements of this would be no outdoor cultivation, only indoor. That was something that I know was kind of like a hot topic earlier, or years ago, when this framework was initially kind of proposed. So only indoor advertising, cultivation would be allowed under this program.
Okay, so that's good to know. I didn't realize that. So there's going to be no hoop houses. Everything is any legal grow is going to be indoors.
Correct. So no outdoor and no mixed light, which is would be the hoop houses that you're mentioning.
Right. Okay, and then just FYI for everybody, the other green spot over on the left, over by where right there, is down at Sierra Highway and Davenport, which is that industrial manufacturing area where the storage yards are, right at Davenport and Sierra Highway at the other end.
Yeah.
Correct?
That's correct. Yeah, that looks like that's where the storage yard is to the north of Davenport Road, and then that manufacturing facility used to be the old Kaiser, Kaiser Century plant. I think Bill's Welding. There's some other welding shops that are in there.
Right.
And here again, when Fernando, when you say indoors, define a little bit of what indoor means. It's covered, or actually in an indoor, like a tilt-up building, or what is the?
Yeah, no, it would be a fully enclosed structure, so a building. Okay. Greenhouses would not qualify because those aren't considered like fully enclosed. Hoop houses, all those things would not be allowed. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then as we go down Sierra Highway from Agua Dulce, I think our sphere of influence stops just about there at Davenport and Sierra Highway. But going down Sierra Highway, it looks like there is some commercial or some industrial M1 property there. I think it's the Bloomgren Ranch where they have weddings and whatnot. And then all the way down to the old dirt road, which is where the halfway house is. I think everybody's familiar with that. And then it looks like across the street from the halfway house is another little section there of M1 that would be, it looks like it would be acceptable. The old dirt road is, that's right about where I think Mueller Hay is somewhere right around there too. Or no, that looks like that little green patch north of halfway house there, that's across the street from Mueller Hay. But yeah, that's, but I don't know of any indoor buildings other than the ones that are at Davenport and Sierra Highway, where there is manufacturing that takes place right now. So,
yeah, so important to keep in mind that this is just where potentially it could be located, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be. One of the most common more common practices in this industry is they'll move into like existing structures. Rarely have I seen, like just a whole new construction for this. So yeah, it's basically just an eligibility map and where these zones that may be eligible exist, but doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be located here.
Okay, great. So that's where it would be allowed, but whether or not it would actually take place there would depend upon them meeting the other criteria, including getting a permit. Is that correct?
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. Does anybody else have any questions for Fernando? I think that map is very informative. Kind of tells us the areas that are eligible, and I think in Agua Dulce there's not a whole lot as far as permanent enclosed structures that aren't already spoken for. Okay.
Yeah, encourage everyone to have a look. But yeah, all of these things are available on our website.
Great, sounds good. Well, we want to thank you for coming to our meeting tonight, Fernando, and for the presentation. And we understand that there is going to be a virtual presentation, which is going to take place October 23rd from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Is that correct?
That is absolutely right, and we do have all this information on our website. But just one more time, or I could also send this over to you, and you could just share this flyer with your members.
Sounds good. Well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you for having us.
Okay. Now moving on to our old business. RTG Investments, Agua Dulce Residential Project. Chris is going to give the report or give us an update or talk to us about RTG.
Talk to you. So the issue that has arisen is after our last meeting, and we'd had that letter from the geologist, I reached out to him, I had a chat to him. He essentially just reiterated a lot of the points that he'd made in the letter to us, which is that he'd never seen someone with the lack of expertise in grading a hillside than what he'd witnessed up until the point they walked off the project site back in the middle of last year. He confirmed that the dirt that was stockpiled outside the project boundary had in fact come from the I-5 construction without any permits, which presumably, had there been a biologist on the site, they'd resigned around the same time, they might have been a little bit concerned about what was in the dirt, what was going on there. So the general sense that I got was, or is that the relationship is pretty much done. They're owed money. I have a sense of how much money it is. It's not quite as much as I'd opined last time, but it's still a pretty decent chunk of change. And there are some documents that they prepared for RTG that they never handed over, and they won't get those until RTG writes them a check out, understandably. The other thing that happened last month on the 25th of September was the scheduled meeting of the Los Angeles Regional Water Quality Control Board, which is the LA district of the State Water Board. And typically what you see there is that a few days before the meeting, a couple of things get published. One is an executive officer's report, which is essentially a report by the person who's the primary person in charge of the local water board here in Los Angeles. They write that report, they take sections of that report in from their staff, and one of the sections that they put in there is the compliance section where they're writing out notices of violation for different businesses. Could be a gas station that's got leaking tanks, or somebody like RTG who didn't do the right job of stormwater mitigation. And surprisingly, that they had cancelled the meeting that they were supposed to have in July. And typically the enforcement or the compliance reports for September would only go up until the end of July, I think. So they're about a month plus behind. So we know that RTG was hit with this pretty hefty $320,000, ask from the Water Board in late May. What I was expecting to see was some reference to that, because that's a pretty big chunk of change. If you look at the cumulative amount of different fines and what have you, notices of violation they've levied, it's a few $100,000. But you have one entity here who's been hit up for $300,000, and there was simply no mention of it anywhere in the executive officer's report to the board of the Water Board, which I felt was highly unusual, because if you go back to about April of 2022, after they granted the permit for the dredge and fill that the community opposed, the minutes that were circulated in April confirmed that permit had been issued to RTG. And then if you go to the executive officer's report and you look at that compliance section from September of last year, you can see that there's a reference there to the notice of violation that had been issued to RTG that related to stormwater practices and that they hadn't implemented in the rainy season for 2022-23. So I thought it was unusual that such a material amount of money and such a material ask would not be in front of the board. And there's a public section to these discussions that the Water Board has, and then they have a closed session where they talk about litigation and other bits and pieces. And the litigation section that was undertaken in a closed session didn't include any reference to RTG. So it certainly begs the question where this has all gone. So I've got to do a bit of digging there. But at this stage, I think we're closing in on a point where we can write to the supervisor. There's certainly plenty of meat on the bone in terms of what we need to raise with the supervisor and the way that the staff in these different agencies have responded or not responded. A few months ago, you may remember I did a presentation where we talked about the different water zones, the pressure zones that are in this project. There was one for phase one, there was one for phase two that had been stripped out, and then there was this surprise third pressure zone on an area of land just outside the project boundary off Valley Sage Road that was going to support 118 acres of retail, a school and something else. I forget what it was, but it had a pretty sizable water demand to it. And I wrote to regional planning under a Public Records Act when I learned of that. I just asked them to divulge all the discussions that they'd had regarding the improvements to that particular parcel of land. And they acknowledged the receipt of the public records request, but they've never responded to it. So I think that there's an awful lot of unusual things going on right in front of us here, and I think that people aren't properly being held to account for what's going on. So that's all I'll say about it at the moment. But it's certainly not. They're not responding to the way that. To these inquiries in the way that they're legally obliged to.
So, as far as any suggestion, you're going to dig into it deeper as far as any more of the details, or what?
No, I'm going to draft a letter. I'm hoping that by November we should have that for the council to look at. I've been rather preoccupied meeting the lead and copper rule deadline for October 16th for the State Water Board, for our mutual water company down here. So now that is almost out of the way, I'll have a little bit of time to look into this. But I don't really think we need to keep digging. You know, there's piles of rather smelly stuff sitting in front of us that we just need to pleasantly organize into a letter and drop it on somebody else's desk.
Okay, perfect. All right. Have you had any conversations with the Agua Dulce neighbors group as far as the Save Rural Agua Dulce committee?
No, I mean, I had a discussion with them about the dismissal of their grievance complaint. That was around about the time of the last council meeting where I think they mentioned that that had happened. I think Marcy had been on the phone and we talked about that, but my understanding is that what actually happened at that water board meeting in June, or whenever it was that Marcy signed in to actually make a comment, was illegal. The lawyer for the State Water Board and the way that they declined to indicate why or give a reason why their petition had been declined was outside of the law here in California. And the fact that they prevented Marcy from talking about an item that was on their agenda, again, it would be like us shutting somebody down here who's waited around to have their 3 minutes and just saying, sorry, you can't talk about that.
Gotcha.
So my understanding is that what happened was illegal. I don't know what recourse they've got, if any, but clearly, you know, based on the way that I started off this discussion, there's some, you know, there's some shenanigans.
Yeah, to put it mildly.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments for Chris for this pertaining to RTG? All right, great. Thank you, Chris. Look forward to hearing from you. Is Marcy or anybody here from the community group Save Rural Agua Dulce that has anything to report? I don't see anything. All right, well, we look forward to working with you in the future. We'll see what happens between now and November meeting. We'll talk about it then. That brings us up to the President's report. Obviously, we're in this year, 2024, we're holding the meetings virtually, all but 4 in-person meetings that are actually a hybrid meeting where we have in-person and Zoom. And I think the Zoom only is working probably better than the in-person meetings, but I don't know what the rest of the council's feelings are toward that, but I'm open for any suggestions if anybody has anything to comment.
I think we need to revisit this in December.
Okay.
And talk about it for the future.
That sounds good. All right. So incoming correspondence for action. We didn't have anything for action, but we do have public hearing, community meeting workshops that for notice. Postponed was the 14 Freeway 14 North Los Angeles County Safety and Mobility Improvements Project. That's been postponed. We do post cannabis regulation virtual community meeting, which is going to be, like we mentioned, October 23rd between 6 and 7:30. And by the way, you do need to register for that if you plan to attend. We do have the flood risk webinar, which is going to be the next day, October 24th, between 6:30 and 7:30 p.m. That's going to be hosted by LA County Department of Public Works. And you can find the information there on our particular website under our agenda. We do have a Brown Act workshop, which is the next day also, only it's in the afternoon, Thursday, October 24th. Anybody who'd like to attend it. And the information is listed in our agenda. Also, accessory dwelling unit, the ADU ordinance amendment, is going to be, the Board of Supervisors public hearing is going to be held October 29th at 9 a.m. downtown. So all the information is there. if you wish to attend any of these meetings or want to find out any more information about it, you're welcome to look at our agenda. Incoming correspondence for notice is we had quite a few regional planning plans filed, and they're also listed on our agenda. Some about new manufactured homes with an accessibility ramp, some installation of temporary container home, and other than that, let's see, there's a 5-year extension for an existing IMP on Solid Canyon Road. I think is that Cali Lake, if I'm not mistaken. 12101 Solid Canyon Road, looking for a 5-year extension. There's also
Cali Lakes is 10645 Solid.
Okay, so I'm off on that. But 12101 Solid Canyon Road, they're looking for a 5-year extension. And 33431 on Wilson Canyon Road, special event permit for the Women's Club. We already had that. That's for the country fair. All right. Other than that, we have a special event permit for a catered fundraiser at a hangar. Oh, December 7th. Good, we got that date squared away there. So other than that, we have a couple other ground mount solar projects that are underway, and a certificate of compliance for APN 2813-022-004. So that brings us up to open forum, where you're welcome to bring up any subject that you think is community oriented, and you're welcome to speak for 3 minutes. So do we have anybody who would like to speak at this particular time?
May I?
Looks like we got, well, Catherine.
Ladies first,
Okay, Catherine?
I told Mary about this the other day. Maria Bonitas is having problems with their landlord, and they may have to close. And I just think that all of us should try to support them and go eat there some more. Because I'd hate to see them go.
I hear you there. We need more restaurants, that's for sure.
Yeah. So that's all I wanted to say.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Chris, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, this actually came about when we were sitting in the back of the pickup truck in the Agua Dulce parade, showing people. Obviously, Trish Brewer just sold the hardware store a month or so ago, and she's done a huge amount for the community over the years. And I'm wondering if the council would consider arranging some sort of recognition for her in some way, shape, or form for the contribution she'd made for the community over the years.
Yeah, I don't know. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Don.
No, I was going to say, I don't know of any particular process that we normally go through, but normally it's through, some recognition from the supervisor's office or someone of that nature. But Mary, what did you have in mind?
I think it's a really good idea, and I think at our December holiday celebration meeting would be a perfect time to do that, and we can publicize that so that additional community members may be there to see it. But I can I can put something together from the council, and then I can ask for the supervisor's office to do a scroll of some sort.
Okay, all right. So do we need to put that in the form of a motion or something like that and vote on it? I think that'd probably be wise. Chris, you want to put that in the form of a motion?
Yeah, sure.
You know what? Because it's not on the agenda.
Okay,
we really shouldn't. So I'll put it on the agenda for November. How about that?
Perfect.
That sounds great.
And we might do a bit of prep work before November.
Yes.
Right. That sounds good. All right. Anybody else for open forum? If not, we're going to move right on to high-speed rail report.
Don, I just have one quick question.
Yes,
I
Isabel.
was wondering how you guys usually do your holiday months. Do you have normal meetings? Do you go dark in December? How do you guys do things?
Actually, we have in December, it's going to be a hybrid meeting, which means, but basically we have very little business taken care of at our December meeting. Usually it's for the installation of any new members that we might have and the selection of who our officers are going to be for the next year. So it's an informal meeting. It's more of a celebration. It's a get together for the community, but it is an in-person hybrid meeting, which means we will be at the Women's Club. Usually we have some kind of catering that takes place where it's a festive event. And, but we are dark for December on the fact that at our meeting, we try to keep any business matters postponed until our January.
Okay. Yes, understood. Sounds fun.
And we actually don't make it a hybrid meeting. We decided to just make it an in-person meeting only.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Okay. Well, that's what I get being president. Okay. All right. So it's in person only. Yeah. So be there or be square. Is that what it is? All right. Anything else? Okay. New business.
High speed rail, Don, if I may. The high speed rail just released the EIR, the final version of it, and it's many, many different PDFs. As you may recall, in late 2022, we submitted comments along with the Acton Town Council on various aspects of the project. Those comments are actually dealt with in a PDF that's 1,226 pages. And when you actually open up the PDF, it makes everything but a supercomputer crawl along. So I have begun to scroll through it. And a couple of things really stood out to me. One was that there is a statement in there that they do not plan to use groundwater as a source to drive the tunnel boring machines. Secondly, that the infrastructure that they will put in to deliver the water to the tunnel boring machines, specifically this water main down Agua Dulce Canyon Road that starts in, Escondido outside Vasquez Rocks, is not being installed with the intent of handing it over to local agencies at the end of the project, which is great because that means they can dig it back out again. But what I'm going to need to do is essentially print out the 200 or so pages into another PDF that deals with that, and then cross-reference, because essentially what they say is, they'll print the letter and they'll say, okay, we dealt with this here, this point there, this other point somewhere else. And you have to then open up different PDFs to be able to understand the extent to which they've actually really dealt with the issue that was raised. So I'll try and find some time to do that over the next few weeks and see what we can come up with, and perhaps put together a presentation for a future meeting where we walk the community through exactly how the High Speed Rail Authority said in response to the letters and the points that we raised almost 18 months ago.
Right. Sounds good. If it will be helpful, I do have this thumb drive right here, which it's only 2.41 gigabytes. So I think it's more than this particular one. I think it's about 5,000 pages. But if this would be helpful, Chris, you're welcome to it. That's it.
Thank you. Unfortunately, it doesn't make the document we need to search through any shorter.
When you load it up, it's got to go somewhere, right?
Exactly.
All right. So under new business, I don't think we have any new business. We do for our next meeting, but not this meeting. Now we're into the committee reports. Oh, the election committee. Is Rosie here with us tonight? I didn't see her, but there is an update, September 23rd. There will be no election on November 5th. Currently, there are 4 open seats for 2-year terms. And the ones that have agreed to that are the four incumbents: Mary Johnson, Kennedy Clemente, Catherine Segura, and Cliff Grimes declared their intent to run for re-election. All four incumbents' applications were filed in a timely manner, and all applicants qualified to fill the four open seats. So no other applications were received. So the Agua Dulce Town Council bylaws state if candidates are unopposed or there is less than a full slate of candidates, those candidates shall be elected by acclamation. If there are a greater number of candidates than the number of open seats, an election will be held. So no election will be held on November 5th of this year. Next up, if Rosie...
So John?
Yes.
Just a quick question on that. Those terms don't actually start until people are sworn in at the December meeting.
Right.
So Andy has just applied to be re-elected and has been re-elected by acclamation, but actually won't serve. So should we refund her $50 application fee? Because she won't be serving in that term as a council member.
I think that's a decision that the election committee should make.
I agree. And Rosie's not here?
Yeah, nobody.
I don't know how that's handled, but I think Rosie will know how it's handled. She'll handle it correctly. All right?
I think we should just raise it with her.
Okay.
All right.
We can do that.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Parks and Trails report from Mary Johnson.
Okay, I still have not finalized or tried to get together for the Vasquez Rocks Park Superintendent and good community engagement with some of the equestrian groups on how Vasquez Rocks is approaching their equestrian use and policies. So I will get to that. We'll be done shortly. I'll keep you informed.
As I recall, I think that's going to actually be held outside of the town council. Is that correct? In other words, I think we'll get a report back, but as far as an actual meeting, it will be whenever, that will be scheduled as per everybody's, whatever their calendars look like, it sounds like.
Right, and I will attend to kind of see how it goes, because my main goal in this is good community engagement and respect for both sides.
Yep.
That's what
So you'll be the facilitator, you might say.
I will try.
Okay, great. Water stewardship. Well, we're still waiting for rain. I'm very thankful to live where we live and not in parts of the eastern country. Very concerned about certain areas there that are underwater, you might say.
Yeah.
But here, it seems like wells are kind of right back where they were. We're still looking better than we did toward the end of the drought. It was great to hear as far as the grant money that might be available. I hope people take advantage of that. That sounds great. Scott Keller's not here, so we're going to move on to disaster planning. Gary or Chris, anything to report?
Yeah, the various bits and pieces have been arranged in the CERT container. Maria has already spoken about the fact that there's a healthy number of people who've signed up for the CERT classes that start in October on the 15th, I think, which is pretty good because we only did the last one a year ago. And I think there's a couple of $1,000s of that grant money or whatever it was left over, which is going to be spent on some additional supplies for the CERT container. So I think the Women's Club disaster planning team is figuring out what they want to go and put in there. But there's some good things in there, and apparently it all looks very nice and tidy.
Good. Well, I'm thankful that we haven't had a disaster we've had to dig into there, so that's good. Announcements for things that are coming up. Again, Josie mentioned the household hazardous waste and e-waste collection. Water Revolution is October 15th. That's at the Carson Event Center. Santa Clara River Watershed Steering Committee is October 17th at Santa Clarita City Hall. We got the free tire collection event, which is going to be October 19th. And the Association of Rural Town Councils meeting is October 30th at 7 o'clock via Zoom. So our next Aguadulce Town Council meeting, which is going to be held Zoom or virtual, is going to be November 13th. Any future agenda items we've already mentioned in this meeting tonight that we'll bring up. And so at this point, I'm just looking for a motion to adjourn this meeting by someone.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.